I awoke today and found frost perched on the town. It hovered in a frozen sky, ground summer down. When the sun turns traitor cold and the shivering trees stand in a naked row, I get the urge for going, but I never seem to go. Will I get the urge for going when the meadow grass is turning brown? Summertime is falling down and winter's closing in. I had a girl in summertime with summer-colored skin, and not another man in town my darling's heart could win. Leaves are shaking off the tree, bully winds are driving their faces in the ground. She got the urge for going. She said she had to go. She got the urge for going. Meadow grass was turning brown. Summertime was falling down and winter's closing in. The warriors of winter give their cold triumphant shout. All that stays is dying, and all that lives is getting out. Watch the geese in chevron flight, flapping and racing on before the snow. You have the urge for going, and they got the wings to go. Well, they got the urge for going now, when the meadow grass is turning brown. Summertime is falling down and winter's closing in. I'll ply the fire with kindling, I'll bring the blankets to my chin. I'll block out the vagrant winter, and I'll keep my wandering in. I'd like to bring back summertime, have her stay just another month or so. She got the urge for going, I'll have to let her go. And she gets the urge for going now, when the meadow grass is turning brown and summertime is falling down and winter's rolling in. Winter's closing in. And I get the urge for going, when the meadow grass is turning brown, yes, summertime has fallen down and winter's closing in. Winter's closing in. Winter's closing in.
Good morning. Welcome to the First Religious Society Unitarian Universalist in Newburyport, Massachusetts. If you are joining us here for the first time, welcome. We are glad you are here. My name is Joanna Fernandez, and I am honored to be your worship associate this morning for our solstice service. We are joined today by FRS member Greg Garnash on the guitar. Thank you, Greg. We come together at FRS online and in person, committed to love, peace, and justice. Our mission and our invitation to all of you is to come as you are, journey together in love, act with courage, transform our world. If you are worshiping online and would like to access this morning's order of service, please click on the link just below the live stream. If you would like a large print order of service or hymnal, please ask an usher and they would be happy to help you. I would like to draw your attention to the many activities and events happening here at church that are listed in your order of service. Everyone is invited to come to our beautiful, magical annual candlelight service, which is this evening starting at 7:15, a holiday tradition for so many in our community and beyond. And to our Christmas Eve service next Sunday at 5:30 p.m. We hope you will come to both. There is no morning service next Sunday. However, this week from Tuesday through Saturday, there will be noontime Serenity in the Sanctuary services. These services are designed to provide us all with opportunities to meditate together, rest in silence, and share some poetry and reflections, and of course, be in community. Everyone is welcome to come for the whole hour services or drop in as your schedule allows. I'd now like to invite Rebecca and Andy Laub, some newer members of FRS, to share about what this community means to them and why they chose to join. Thank you. It is good to be together.
Thank you very much for welcoming us. We appreciate it. Good morning, everyone. Rebecca and I recently moved back to this area after a 12-year absence. And we really were seeking greater community connection. So after attending the services and participating for about 6 months, this summer, we were so happy we joined the church immediately. As I reflect on the reasons why we became members, 4 come to mind. 1, the steeple. 2, the editorial, and I hope these will become obvious later on. 3, the people, and 4, the prayer. First, the steeple. For over 220 years, this beautiful meeting house, which is so awesome, located at the heart of the city, has welcomed Newburyport community. So like a beacon, the steeple is what initially drew us in. Second, the Daily News editorial, written by Reverend Rebecca, shared the congregation's decision to use the parish hall to house the Mizrahi family from Afghanistan. This selfless act that you demonstrated really speaks louder than words. So who wouldn't want to become a member of this church? The third reason, the people, the congregation, you. Rebecca, or just to avoid confusion, Becky here, and I eagerly await Sunday mornings so we can return to this center of learning to expand our appreciation for literature, music, history, spiritual practices, and social justice. We are privileged and humble to witness how you share your authentic, creative, talented, and passionate selves each week. And finally, the prayer, or more precisely, one phrase within the affirmation of faith, said each week, service is its prayer. Acts to channel and harness our energies and talents, and truly differentiates this church. For each of these reasons and many more, I don't have time to go into, we are proud to be part of the FRS-UU congregation, and thank you for welcoming us.
Good morning, everyone. My decision to become a member of FRS has been a journey that started in October of 2022 when I read the article in the Daily News written by Reverend Rebecca, and it's the article that Andy referred to. She spoke of the church's experience with an Afghan refugee family living in Parish Hall, the recent celebration of Indigenous Peoples Day, and her pride in response to Newburyport, quote, doing the right thing for as many people as possible, even when we admit there is more to be done. The story spoke to me because Andy and I had recently moved, and I in particular was looking to connect with local groups organized for social justice. I didn't expect the article would lead us to become members. We had never heard of Unitarian Universalism, but we became very intrigued when Reverend Rebecca and Julie Parker Amory explained the 7 principles at a contemplating membership workshop. We continued to explore UU by attending weekly services, and I enrolled in the Wellspring course in January 2023. Wellspring turned out to be a transformative experience for me. It went well beyond learning about the UU principles. I developed friendships and confidence in my spiritual practice. Halfway through Wellspring, we made the decision to become members of FRS so we could ensure that the mission, the priorities, and investments of our church can continue to do the good work that is important to supporting a just and loving community and society. To those of you who are not yet members, I strongly encourage you to continue to attend service and get involved with the programs. If you find the experience fills your heart, then trust that the membership will only deepen what you receive and the opportunities that you have to give. Thank you.
Thank you, Rebecca and Andy, for sharing yourselves so generously. And we are holding one of those contemplating memberships immediately after the service downstairs. We welcome anyone who would like to join. I'm looking for 79. I have my instructions. You're at 101, Ray. For those online, we want to make sure we're visible. This morning is our winter solstice service, which particularly honors earth-based traditions. The solstice, also known as Yule, will actually take place this Thursday, December 21st, at 10:27 p.m. For those who are so moved, I'd encourage you to actually perhaps stand outside or go down to the beach. Solstice is an ancient tradition that honors the returning of the sun, the darkest night of the year. The celebration is that the next morning the sun will rise a little higher every day, and the light will stay a little longer. This tradition carries much lore and deep meaning. It is particularly poignant because we have faith and trust that the sun will return. It doesn't necessarily seem that way each January winter day, but indeed it is so. To begin, we will cast a circle by calling of the quarters or the directions. This was created by a UU pagan, and I offer it with great gratitude. The circle in paganism represents the fact that all of us who are gathered here this morning are equal in this service. Unlike many other religions and traditions, there is no officiant in paganism. We who are gathered are the embodiment of all that we seek. We have our callers in of the directions, and as each person speaks, we'll all turn to that direction and listen to their words and reply in unison, hail and welcome. So please rise in body and in spirit.
Welcome to the East. Welcome to the wan winter light at sunrise. Welcome to the winter wind. Hail and welcome.
Welcome to the South. Welcome to the heart's warmth. Welcome to the fire of our passionate hearts. Hail and welcome.
Welcome to the West. Welcome to the icy rivers, the implacable sea. Welcome to the snow and all that flows and freezes. Hail and welcome.
Welcome to the North. Welcome to the ground as cold as iron. Welcome to the deep, close, and holy darkness of earth. Hail and welcome.
Please remain standing and let's join our voices in a Navajo traditional song, number 1069 in the Teal hymnal, Ancient Mother. Please be seated.
Please join me in saying our chalice lighting words as Joanna and Nash light the chalice. The words can be found in your order of service. We gather this hour as people of faith, with joys and sorrows, gifts and needs. We light this beacon of hope, sign of our quest for truth and meaning, in celebration of the life we share together.
Each week, we also light 2 candles of peace, representing 2 places on earth that need peace. We lift these up as a remembrance of a sacred encounter with our world. We know there are untold numbers of places that need peace. These 2 we will hold through this week and in this service. After each candle is lit, I invite us all to respond in unison by saying peace in 3 languages: peace, salam, shalom. Our first candle is lit for Newtown, Connecticut, and for Sandy Hook Elementary School, where 11 years ago, the Sandy Hook massacre occurred, during which 20 children and 6 adults were killed. We also honor the flags that are tied on the fence outside of our church building for this week, representing the 120 people who will be killed by gun violence in our country each day. The soul of our country was forever changed 11 years ago, and we continue to work and pray for the perseverance needed to change gun laws in this country. To this we respond, peace, salam, shalom. Our second candle this morning is lit for the Northern Hemisphere, where, as I said, this Thursday at 10:27 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, the darkest night of the year occurs, solstice is observed, and winter begins. This is an incredibly important passage for many ancient and contemporary religions and people. In honor of the earth and the sacred movements in life, we respond, peace, sol, shalom. This morning also marks the 3rd Sunday in the season of Advent. We light this candle as a symbol of joy, not just any simple cheer, but the experience of joy that cannot be contained. Advent asks us to proclaim our gladness as a gift to the world in the face of sorrow and of injustice. May we share our hearts through our words, our music, and the way we live our lives, and let the fullness of our joy lead to more joy and peace in the world. Let's rise again in body or spirit and join our voices in our affirmation of faith, followed by the doxology. This morning we'll be saying to serve all of creation in our affirmation of faith, honoring the interconnected world and earth of which we are a part. Love is the doctrine of this church. The quest of truth is its sacrament, and service is its prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge in freedom, to serve all creation in fellowship, to the end that all souls shall grow into harmony with the divine. Thus do we covenant with each other and with God. Be seated.
Good morning.
Good morning.
My name is David Owen, and this is my journey of faith. I grew up in rural southern Illinois, about 25 miles from St. Louis. Both of my parents were World War II veterans. My dad was a Marine who survived 44.5 months in Japanese prison camps. My mom was an Army nurse who was stationed at the military hospital where my dad was sent to recuperate his health after the war. My parents were not particularly religious, but they wanted their children to be brought up in a church. So when I was about 6 or 7 years old, my mother took me church shopping. We attended a Methodist church, then a Presbyterian church, and finally settled into the United Church of Christ. There I attended Sunday school and was confirmed, although I never really believed many of the stories that were told about miracles and resurrection. During my college years, the Vietnam War was raging, and I became involved in the anti-war movement. By my senior year, I was co-chairman of our campus's chapter of the Students for a Democratic Society. By then, I had completely rejected the values my parents had placed on military service and had committed myself to opposing an unjust war. After college, I was subject to the draft. Having been influenced by pacifist literature and philosophy, including Christian philosophers like Paul Tillich, I applied for conscientious objector status. However, my local draft board was having none of it and rejected my application. I filed an appeal of their decision, and of course, that was also denied. My mother actually cried when she learned that I had applied for conscientious objector status because she was so ashamed. And my father told me that if I fled to Canada to avoid the draft, that he would never see me again. So then I applied to the Peace Corps to see if I could get out of the country before my next induction notice arrived. Fortunately, I was accepted and sent to Costa Rica, where I worked with rural cooperatives. But that did not deter my local draft board, which sent an induction notice to my new address, which was care of the American Embassy, San Jose, Costa Rica. Fortunately, Peace Corps intervened with the Selective Service in Washington and struck a deal in which I was allowed to complete my 2-year service in the Peace Corps, but then I would be automatically drafted. My experience in the Peace Corps profoundly affected me. It was the first time that I had worked with community organizations on a grassroots level, something that I found fulfilling, and public service became my calling. It ultimately led me to a career in local government, where I worked with people to improve their communities. In my early 30s, I decided to become a city or town manager and moved to Massachusetts to attend a Master's in Public Administration program. Then I got a job working for the town of Needham, and I have been in New England ever since. During the 90s, when I lived in Bedford and worked for the town of Burlington, I became interested in the church on the town common in Bedford. I went to meet the minister, John Gibbons, and began to attend Sunday services there. While I never believed many of the stories about miracles and Jesus, I have always been open to the spiritual aspects of life. Finding a church which encouraged exploration of spirituality and the meanings of life without resort to dogma was what I had always craved and finally found in the Unitarian Universalist tradition. My wife, Mary Sortel, and I were married by Reverend Gibbons in 1997, but regretfully, we never became members of the Bedford Church. Finding ourselves next in Newburyport, another community with the Unitarian Church, we decided not to make the same mistake. So after attending services here for a couple of years to get a feel for it, we became members here about 8 years ago. I must admit that I remain more of a doubter than a believer, but I look forward to continuing to explore the spiritual sides of life for what meaning I can glean from it with the continuing support of this congregation and my lovely wife, Mary Sortel. Thank you.
Thank you, David. It was the year my brother died. I lived up north and had few friends, or they all went away. Christmas Day, I was sitting in my armchair reading something about Hegel. You will forgive me if you are someone who knows a lot of Hegel or understands it. I do not, and I will paraphrase badly. But I understood him to be saying that he was fed up with popular criticism of his terrible prose, and claiming that conventional grammar, with its clumsy dichotomy of subject and verb, was in conflict with what he called speculation. Speculation being the proper business of philosophy. Speculation being the effort to grasp reality in its interactive entirety. The function of a sentence like reason is spirit was not to assert a fact, he said, but to lay reason side by side with spirit and allow their meanings to tenderly mingle in speculation. I was overjoyed by this notion of a philosophic space where words drift in gentle, mutual redefinition of one another, but at the same time, wretchedly lonely, with all my family dead. And here it was, Christmas Day. So I put on big boots and coat and went outside to do some snow standing. Not since childhood have I done snow standing. I had forgot how astounding it is. I went to the middle of a woods, fir trees, the teachers of this, all around. Minus 20 degrees in the wind, but inside the trees is no wind. The world subtracts itself in layers. Outer sounds like traffic and shoveling vanish. Inner sounds become audible. Cracks, sighs, caresses, twigs, bird breath, toenails of squirrel. The fir trees move hugely. The white is perfectly curved, stunned with itself. Puffs of ice fog and some gold things float up. Shadows rake their motionlessness across the snow with the vibration of other shadows moving crosswise on them. Shadow on shadow in precise velocities. It is very cold. Then that too begins to subtract itself. The body chills on its surface, but the core is hot, and it is possible to disconnect the surface to withdraw to the core, where a ravishing peace flows in. So ravishing that I am actually unembarrassed to use the word ravishing. And it is not a peace of separation from the senses, but the washing through peace of looking, listening, feeling at the very core of snow, at the very core of the care of snow. It has nothing to do with Hegel, and he would not admire the clumsily conventional sentences in which I have tried to tell about it. But I suspect if I hadn't been trying on the mood of Hegel's particular grammatical indignation that Christmas Day, I would have never gone out to stand in the snow, or stayed to speculate it, or had the patience to sit down and make a record of speculation for myself, as if it were a worthy way to spend an afternoon, a plausible way to change the icy horror of holiday into a sort of homecoming. Merry Christmas from Hegel. The generosity of our community is an essential ministry that supports the work of our church, both in Newburyport and beyond. Each week, 50% of the Sunday offering not designated as a pledge goes to a local community partner engaged in important efforts to transform our region. The December shared collection goes to support the Community Action, Inc. Energy Program. The program provides heating assistance, based on household income and size, to residents of Amesbury, Boxford, Georgetown, Groveland, Haverhill, Merrimack, Newbury, Newburyport, Rowley, Salisbury, and West Newbury. Let's keep all of our neighbors warm this winter. To give online, please use the link in your order of service or below the live stream. You can also mail a check to the church as well. Thank you. The offering will now be gratefully received.
Thank you, Greg. What a joy. What beauty. I so treasure what music means and is in your life and appreciate your sharing it with us. This is a time in our service when we pause to lift up the joys and the sorrows of our beloved faith community. Tom Himmel, our pastoral care associate, will light candles as I share what has been sent to me in advance as well as shared in our journal. You're always welcome to send something or to write it in the journal in the vestibule before every Sunday service. Don Rogers asks that we light a candle of care and concern for Dottie Moore, who is in the hospital with pneumonia. Becca Fundes asks that we light a candle of blessed memory for her aunt, Cindy Moser, who passed away last week too quickly and too soon from an aggressive cancer. Becca writes that Cindy was a force of beauty who, to our entire family, carried our grandmother's spirit. Our hearts go out to everyone who misses her as we do, and with her loss, we have been reminded to carry the best of ourselves forward, whether you sew crafts or ride motorcycles. Joanna Fernandez asks we light a candle of joy as she shares that our Crossing Paths youth group, what had been Neighboring Faiths, had a wonderful visit to the congregation in Newburyport, Havis Akin, 2 Saturdays ago. They had a tour and a Q&A with a congregant before the service, and then Rabbi Alex and the rest of the congregation warmly welcomed them. The congregation's youth even led a prayer in honor of their FRS's peers' presence. The Crossing Paths attendees were able to follow along with the Hebrew prayers thanks to prayer books written not only in Hebrew, but with the transliteration of the Hebrew as well as English translations and side notes explaining the context of each prayer. Our youth look forward to exploring Quakerism in January. And we light a final candle this morning, as we do each Sunday, representing all of the joys and the sorrows, the gifts and the celebrations that, although unspoken, are held in just as much love and care. I invite you now into a spirit of prayer, meditation, centering. With the words of a reflection I wrote years ago entitled Meditation on a Winter Morning. I imagine winter as a goddess of Sabbath and inner peace, calling us home to ourselves, to truth, love, and reconciliation. Winter's power is seen in the snowfall and the wind, the nature of all that is reality, so much beyond our control. Fear those who think otherwise. Births of children, grandchildren, life's stages and life's lessons, deaths of loved ones, near and far, life's stages and life's seasons. Storms internal, calling us to question, showing us the way to believe if we surrender to their message. Storms external, reminding us to slow down, see the beauty, accept our limited power, and use the power we have for good. Trees bending under the new fallen snow, birds hopping, hoping for cover and seed. My soul knows these same needs, need for shelter and food, yearning for beauty and rest, helping those who have none of that, bowing in gratitude for that which we have to give and receive. Come, winter, goddess, come. May it be so. Transformation is the business of winter. Transformation is the business of winter. And I invite us all to think about winter, of course, when it comes to the seasons of the year, but also in our own lives. Winter, when perhaps things have yet to come forth, when it may appear on the surface that there's all death, loss of dreams or people or understandings, and we need to have faith that the sun will rise and spring will come. Transformation is the business of winter, writes Catherine May in her book entitled Wintering. This is certainly not the prevailing energy of this time of year for most of us, or many of us, is it? It's not what the consumerist culture around us wants us to be doing. Perhaps, like me, you plan on being prepared for the holidays well in advance. At least that's what you told yourself last year around this time. I will not do this to myself again next year. But I have to be honest that actually it seems to me, I don't know, let me know if you have the same experience, that folks did start getting ready for the holidays earlier this year. Yes, right? Does anyone notice that? The lights in our neighborhood went up earlier than normal, including ours. People were out getting their Christmas trees, if they do, the day after Thanksgiving. Now, one might think that this is indicative of people's growing stress levels or trying to get it all done right, but it didn't feel that way to me. And in conversations with a couple of folks, we all wonder if COVID had something to do with that. The traditions and the familiar, lights and customs and decorations, the warmth, we are hungry for that. And we appreciate it perhaps in a way we had lost touch with before COVID. It feels like people need the holidays, not the stress or overconsumption of the holidays, but, as I say, the tradition, the comfort, the embrace of the holidays. Assuming this is true, it is actually much more in line with the natural energies of this time of year. As we've been reflecting upon, we are 4 days away from the darkest night of the year. I meant to look it up and didn't, but that means probably somewhere around 4 p.m., it will be pitch black. Winter solstice. Animals are beginning to hibernate. Autonomic changes start happening for these species. Their body temperatures, their metabolic rates, their heart rate, their respiratory rates all decrease to conserve energy. We, too, are animals. Some animals near here, like woodchucks and bats, truly hibernate. Other animals slow way down. That happens with bears, skunks, and reptiles, assuming temperatures do drop low enough. Winter has begun. In Celtic and Gaelic mythology, the Cailleach is the goddess of winter. This crone, or hag, or elder woman, comes into the human form at Samhain, or Halloween, which in Celtic tradition marks the start of the darker half of the year, fall and winter. The mythology surrounding Cailleach's powers say that a touch of her staff freezes the ground, and she carries a hammer to chisel out valleys. Story has it that the mountains of Scotland were formed when the Cailleach dropped rocks from her basket. May writes, "Her very steps change the land." One image of her, and there are many you can find, is on the cover of your order of service this morning. In many of them, you may find a woman not quite as attractive as the one that we've chosen. You will often see a deer in the background that is connected to her. She is said to be the mother of gods as well as the goddess of winter, while Brigid is the goddess of the spring. The Cailleach and Brigid are two expressions of the same goddess. Think of the women you know and love. The younger goddess is still there in the older woman. And that older woman holds all of that youthfulness in her soul. The Cailleach represents wisdom and the birth of new creation that emerges from the dark. And Brigid represents new life, energy, and youth. This cycle of creation, birth, death, and recreation or renewal, this cycle is honored throughout all earth-based religions, and it is a cycle that is inescapable in our lives. Though many products being sold or books on shelves would want us to believe otherwise, just put this on your skin and you will forever be 20. We lose so much when we lose the understanding and appreciation of this cycle: creation, life, death, recreation. We are all in one season of our life. It is over, and after time, a new season begins. These things are not to be feared, they are to be honored. This cycle is sacred. It is natural. It is true. It is to be assured as long as we are alive. We all experience transitions and change, and many times there are multiple ones happening at the same time that are in different phases. Think of your life. Something new is always being imagined, even if you don't realize it, or born, while other things are leaving, changing, even if you want to deny it, falling away. Winter, darkness, and cold are invitations for us to surrender to those changes. The Cailleach reminds us to slow down, reflect upon these things, grieve if it is that time, dream as you are called, not before, and behold the gifts of the dark. One of the ways we can do this is through ritual. Rituals matter. They help align our lives. Why do we long for candlelight this evening? Why do we smile at the lights that we drive by? They remind us of important messages and the rhythms of our days within the seasons. Our bodies and our minds are designed to slow down at this time of year. We are animals. Eating warm soup, maybe being a little more introspective, sleeping more, are natural. These are winter times. They do not last forever. Catherine May uses these rhythms of slowing down to restore her equilibrium. She doesn't use New Year's resolutions. She writes, "This then is how I turn my year, not in a single high-stakes moment or commitment, but in a series of gestures that gently acknowledge. There are no diets in the days that follow, no pledges to go vegan or dry. The coldest days of the winter are yet to come," she says. and it won't be long till spring returns again. The Kalak, or goddess of winter, is connected to stones and stone circles. Many traditions move stones in and out of cover, representing good fortune for the upcoming harvest. Stone circles are made so that people can step into the circle, which is actually what we called or created here in our space this morning. These circles are made so we can step into the circle and feel the collective power of the universe and those gathered with us. We're going to be doing a variation on this with white stones after you leave, but I'm going to explain it or invite you to consider participating in this. When you do leave the sanctuary, you'll see that there are 2 spirals of white stones. One is in the vestibule on a table, and the other is outside in front of the church. The spiral, of course, representing the seasons of our lives. It's not a straight line. I invite you, as you're leaving, to take a stone, maybe 2. White, the color of winter, stones, the representation of this time. And between now and January 1st, I invite you to take some time to consider what is waiting to begin in your life. What is ready to end? What is ready to be born? Imagine pondering those questions each of the next days. What is waiting to begin? What is ready to end or has that I have been resisting? What is ready to be born? Then when you're ready, be it today or January 2nd, take your white stone somewhere and give it to the earth. The earth that, if we are aware and pay attention, reminds us of the cycles and the seasons in our own life. You may want to throw it in the ocean, leave it on the beach, lay it under a tree, and trust. Trust, my friends, as we all will together, that spring will return again. Amen. This snowy owl. I hope you've taken the time to pull over with all the other people to watch them when they're here. Let's rise in body or in spirit and join in our closing hymn, number 55, Dark of Winter. please remain standing. Alex, that's for you. Let's join our voices in our unison benediction as Joanna extinguishes the chalice. And again, I hope you'll all join us this evening for candlelight at 7:15, or even immediately after this service if you're considering membership, and next Sunday at 5:30 for Christmas Eve. There is no morning service next Sunday. Please join in our unison benediction. May the love which overcomes all differences, which heals all wounds, which puts to flight all fears, which reconciles all who are separated, be in us and among us now and always. And we'll close our spoken words with a blessing written by Philip Booth. God of owls and of all night creatures, both great and small, walk also with us who fear the dark. Accustom our eyes to that part of the world which turns away from the sun. Prevent us from being blind to what we're afraid to see. Whenever our spirit is sleepless, share us stars to outline a landmark tree or to see the sheltering hills. Teach our feet to feel for the ground where brave ones have walked before us. May it be so. Please be seated.
Well, if you're going to the North Country Fair, where the wind hits heavy on the borderline, please remember me to the one who lives there. She once was a true love of mine, and if you go when the snowflakes storm and the rivers freeze and the summer ends, please see for me she has a coat so warm to keep her from the howling winds. And see for me if her hair hangs long, it rolls and flows all down her breast. Please see for me that her hair hangs long. That's the way that I remember her best. I wonder if she remembers me at all. Many's the time I've hoped and prayed in the darkness of my night, in the brightness of my day. So if you're going to the North Country Fair, where the winds hit heavy on the borderline, remember me to the one who lives there. She once was a true love of mine. Thank you very much. Thank you.